Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Unexpectedly, someone had exposed them. The crux of the issue was that it was not published as a proper, official announcement, but as a gossip article. Needless to say, this made Nicole feel very unnerved. Hearing this, Jared hugged Nicole gently and said, "Let's have an official ceremony." Since they had already decided not to conceal the truth, which had already been exposed anyway, Jared thought they could just organize a ceremony to do Nolan and Lana's identities true justice in San Giotto. Nicole looked up at Jared and bit her lips as she hesitated. Initially, they had thought that Nolan and Lana would appear in public together with them, and due to this, they did not have any reservations about making their existence known to the public. On the day when they were about to do it, they had to place it on the back burner because of Rain's act of gate-crashing them. This had led them to wonder if they should hold another banquet just for the two little ones. "They're worth doing this for," Jared said in a gentle voice, knowing what Nicole's concerns were. Jared assumed that those who mattered would attend the wedding. Therefore, it was the best time to make the announcement. But now, considering the circumstances, he felt that it would be appropriate to hold a banquet specially for Nolan and Lana. Nicole bit her lips and after a moment of hesitation, she answered, "All right then." That was the best solution for the issue. They could not afford to leave it up to the public to make guesses about Nolan and Lana's identity. Neither the Johnston family nor the Riddle family would wrong Nolan and Lana like this. Seeing that Nicole was in a better mood now, Jared stroked her hair and said, "Well then, have you started thinking about our wedding?" Although they had received their marriage certificates 5 years ago, they had not held an official wedding ceremony with their family members in attendance yet. Nolan and Lana were 5 years old already, and yet, neither of their parents had announced their marriage to the public before. As such, Jared thought it was time for them to make the announcement. Nicole blushed and leaned on Jared's shoulders. Then she looked up at Jared and said, "I think we can start planning." Hearing this, Jared raised his eyebrows as if he was in a state of shock. "What kind of look is that?" Nicole angrily glared at Jared. He was the one who had suggested the wedding, but now that she had agreed to it, Jared appeared to be taken aback. "It's just that. Thought you would find an excuse to say no." Jared lightly pinched Nicole's nose, and while a grin crossed his face, "Since you've agreed to it, there is no turning back now." "Why would I regret it?" Nicole asked, feigning anger and rolled her eyes at Jared. "That's all I need to hear." Jared looked down and kissed Nicole on the lips. "Ugh." Nicole protested, though she made no effort to push her away. All of a sudden, there were knocks on the door, and having heard them, Nicole wriggled out of his embrace in a panic. "Someone is here." This prompted Jared to frown a little and let go of Nicole. After the two of them were properly seated, Nicole adjusted her clothes. Jared then shot Nicole a glance and said, "Come in." When the door opened, Max and Patricia entered, shot the couple a glance, and looked at each other. "Why is it that Mr. Johnston looks so unhappy?" "Spill," Jared ordered, his voice deep and low. Max and Patricia were very sure that Jared was in a bad mood. However, they did not give it much thought because they assumed that it was about Nolan and Lana's issue. "Sir, we've found something. It should be Lawrence's doings." Patricia lowered her head and looked at the ground as she spoke. "Lawrence?" Jared seemed crossed. "This fella sure has the balls to do that. Is there any more information?" Nicole narrowed her eyes a little and asked. To that, Max replied, "He might have discovered that the fire crest is in your hands now." "So, he's testing me?" Nicole frowned. It was obvious that Lawrence was trying to test and see Nicole's reaction. Max and Patricia glanced at each other, after which they replied in unison, "I guess so." Nicole looked toward Jared, her eyes seemingly brimming with questions. Jared frowned, and after a long pause, he turned to Nicole and said, "Don't let him know that you've regained your memories." At most, Lawrence would only come to discover that Nicole had retrieved the fire crest. After all, that system was always in Nicole's hands. They could always say that it was Nicole who had cracked the system, and the crest recognized her as the sole bearer. Nothing would be out of place, and besides, the crests would never allow a switch in ownership unless the current bearer was dead. They would definitely not be able to tell that Nicole had gotten her memories restored. Perhaps the main thing which Lawrence was trying to test was this information. Yeah. Nicole nodded in agreement. Then Nicole turned to Patricia and said, "What about Honwick?" Patricia shook her head. "He still refuses to say anything. I'm not sure if he's waiting for Lawrence to rescue him." There was definitely one of the possibilities. Otherwise, there would be no other reason for Honwick to keep himself tight-lipped. "Let him go then," Nicole ordered, knowing full well that they would not gain any information from Honwick, even if it was good to use him for a while. By releasing Honwick, it would prove that she had not regained any of her memories. "Understood," Patricia replied. "Sir, ma'am, if there isn't anything else, we'll leave now," Max said, and proceeded to leave as he had already reported everything he had wanted to. After all, Jared seemed to be in a bad mood. It was best for them to leave as soon as possible. "Hold up." Jared looked up and turned to Max and Patricia. The both of them blanched at once. Then, they lowered their heads and began wondering if something had happened. "About the wedding plan we had prepared. You may proceed with it," Jared ordered the two of them. Max and Patricia lifted their heads, their eyes wide and their jaws hanging. "A wedding?" Seeing the response, Jared frowned and asked, "Do you have a problem?" "No." The both of them shook their heads immediately. They had no intention of questioning Jared, even though they had come across as having reacted that way. They were just too shocked by the news. "That means that Mr. and Mrs. Johnston were already in the midst of discussing the wedding when the both of us entered the room. But why do I feel that he was pissed when we came in?" Max wondered. Suddenly, he seemed to have realized something, and that was when he quickly replied, "Understood. We'll work on it now." As soon as he had spoken, Max brought Patricia out of the room. He seemed to have understood why Jared was in a bad mood. They had probably entered the room at the wrong time. Thus, it was best for them to leave as soon as possible. After Max and Patricia had exited the room, Jared looked to his side at Nicole and said, "Well now, shall we?" I'll have to go back now." Nicole stood up suddenly. Chuckling, Jared pulled Nicole back down onto the couch. It was only then that Nicole understood that Jared was teasing her on purpose. She could not help but roll her eyes at Jared. "You've got nothing to do even if you go now. Just stay here and accompany me," Jared persuaded her in a low voice. "All right then." Nicole smiled. Meanwhile, on the other side, Honwick was released immediately. And as anticipated, he scurried his way to Lawrence at once. Looking at how disheveled Honwick was, Lawrence frowned. "What are you doing here? What's the point of me hiding my whereabouts?" Honwick asked, resentful. "I was kidnapped, and you did not even bother to look out for me? Even without me looking out for you, you still managed to show up in front of me, didn't you?" Lawrence's gaze was cold. With a skeptical look on his face, Honwick questioned, "What on earth did you do? There's no need for you to know anymore. Leave San Joto as soon as possible." After Lawrence was done talking to Honwick, he shouted outside, "Tan, sir." Ian quickly entered the room. "Prepare him to leave the country immediately," Lawrence ordered, his voice burning with fury. Stunned, Ian asked, "You mean now? Don't we need to investigate?" "There's no need for that," Lawrence said, his eyes frosty. "He's entirely useless to me now. If Jared and Nicole have opted to release him, that means that Nicole hasn't regained her memories. Fortunately, Honwick kept his mouth sealed. Otherwise, I would have even less of a reason to keep him alive," he thought. "Understood." Ian turned to Honwick. "Come on, let's go." Honwick added, "The drugs for next month are in my apartment drawer. I'll keep sending them to you from now on." He then followed Ian out. Honwick knew he couldn't do much more to assist Lawrence, apart from supplying him with those nerve-suppressant drugs. Seeing that Ian and Honwick had left, Lawrence leaned back against the chair and closed his eyes as he began to think. Nicole has gained access to the fire crest. Too bad I was not there to witness it, but... With a sigh, Lawrence's eyes narrowed. He could not help but wonder if he would have gotten the fire crest if he was there. Lawrence knew that the crests would not recognize any changes in ownership unless its previous bearer had ended up deceased. However, all of it was just folktales and hearsay. No one knew it was true. If the owner was willing to pass it on, the ownership should be transferable. It was a pity for him that he did not have the chance to test it out. And although Nicole had not regained her memories, it was obvious that she had already begun to suspect him. Otherwise, she would not have captured Honwick. One thing to note was that Nicole might be even more cautious of him now. Why does it seem like things haven't been going well since I arrived at San Giotto? Now, I've even lost my final ace, the fire crest. Was coming to San Giotto the wrong move for me? Or is this God's punishment for what I have done many years back? He asked himself. Lawrence lifted his head and rested his head on the chair. Then, he stared at the ceiling while his thoughts began racing across his mind. Night has fallen, and the lights were lit. The Riddle family's living room was filled with joy and tranquility, although it was nowhere near as merry as before. Though Spencer and Samuel were no longer around, Sean and Steve had returned home. With them around, everyone went on to discuss the banquet to be held for Nolan and Lana. Jared, you should inform your grandpa about this matter. After all, you're going to introduce them as Nolan and Lana Johnston during the banquet. Daniel advised Jared. We'll confirm the guest list and agenda for now. I'll talk to my grandpa tomorrow once I head back. I was also thinking of asking him to host the night. Jared replied, taking Daniel's advice. Nice. If he could host the night, that would be great. He'll be happy about it too. Daniel agreed to the idea. Let's see if there's anything that we've missed out on. Jane looked at the items she had taken note of as she asked for everyone's opinion. The guests will come bearing gifts, right? Should we prepare some gifts at the entrance for them as well? Jane asked. Yeah, we'll definitely need to prepare some. Gloria nodded. This banquet must be done well. That way, we could also make up for what happened last time. Daniel added. Then, Sean and Steve stated, this time around, we will get a security detail to keep an eye on the event. Good. Gloria replied. Let's keep it a secret from Samuel and Spencer in the meantime. Otherwise, they'll just get worried. Let's just give them a peaceful honeymoon. Yeah, that's true. Sean agreed and turned to Stanley. After the invitation cards have been tallied with the guest list, you'll be in charge of the printing. Sure. Stanley answered. Soon, after all the responsibilities had been assigned, Gloria called out to everyone. I guess we're almost done. Let's have dinner now. Everyone walked over to the table and got themselves seated. Just as dinner was served, the look on Sally's face changed. Then, she covered her mouth with her hands, got up and ran off. Sally. Steve followed after her, worried. Gloria looked at the direction Sally was headed to, and Gloria's gaze was filled with emotions. As Nicole had also experienced such a thing before, she instinctively turned to look at Gloria. When their eyes met, the mother-daughter duo reached an instant understanding of what was going on. After a while, Sally returned, her face pale as a sheet. That was when Steve stepped up and persuaded Sally to ease her concerns. Let's go to the hospital. It's fine. I have been experiencing this for a few times over the past few days. I'll feel better in a while. Sally shook her head as everyone waited for dinner to begin. She did not want the rest to worry about her. Alfred! Gloria shouted. Yes. The house butler came over. Get the kitchen to bring these greasy dishes away as well as that fish. Ask them to prepare something lighter and more delicate. Gloria ordered. Mom, there's no need for that. It's fine. Sally immediately stopped Gloria, feeling a little bad that everyone had to adjust to her needs. If all those dishes were taken away, The rest would be left with nothing but vegetables and fruit to eat. Don't worry. Just have a seat. Gloria stole a glance at Sally's belly as she stated. Having not noticed it, Sally sat down obediently. However, she still attempted to persuade Gloria to let things be. Mom, it's really fine. I feel a lot better. Before she could complete her sentence, Sally's gaze caught the table again, and her nose began twitching. Still, she attempted to conceal and suppress her sudden revulsion for the food in front of her. Seeing this, Gloria immediately rushed the butler. Alfred, quick. Understood. The butler immediately went to work. Soon, after the greasier meat and fish items were removed from the table, they were substituted by lighter, plant-based ones. Once Sally felt much better, she thanked Gloria. Thank you, Mom. As soon as she had spoken, Sally turned to the rest of them. I'm sorry. I'm not sure why I've been feeling this way recently. I've been feeling sick from time to time. There's no need to apologize. This is a good thing. Gloria smiled. Let's have our meal first. After dinner, Steve will bring you to the hospital to get you checked. Mom, how could this be a good thing? Steve questioned, disagreeing with his mother's view of the situation. Steve himself had noticed that Sally had lost a lot of weight. It could very well be a sign that she was sick. In response, Gloria rolled her eyes at Steve and said, You'll find out once you go to the hospital. Sally, are you? Jane trailed off, seeming to have understood the situation. Instinctively, her gaze moved toward and settled on Sally's belly. Sally followed Jane's gaze and stopped at her own belly. Then, the realization dawned upon her, stunning her for a moment. Mom, are you saying? Sally asked Gloria excitedly. I guess so. You'll find out once you've gotten it checked at the hospital. Gloria replied with a smile. What on earth are you ladies talking about? Steve asked with a frown, still unable to understand the situation. Then, Sally blushed and pulled Steve over to her. You might be a dad soon. Dad? Steve gasped, petrified. After a few seconds, he snapped out of his stupor, carried Sally up and said, Let's get to the hospital now. Hey, be careful. Gloria instantly panicked and said, I know. I won't throw them down, Steve replied, and by then, he was already heading outside. But you can't just let Sally starve, Gloria retorted. No worries. I'll buy something for her to eat, Steve suddenly said, before rushing out of the front door. Taken aback by what Steve was doing, they then burst out laughing. Look how worried he is. Alfred, please get someone to tag along with him and inform us when he's back, so that the both of them won't have to lose sleep over this, Gloria instructed. Steve would have to take care of Sally once he got to the hospital, so it was best to have someone else handle the rest for him. I will do so right away, the house butler replied, and hurried off to make the necessary arrangements at once. After Steve and Sally had sped off the driveway, the others continued their dinner. There, in the dining hall, the atmosphere was brimming with cheerful anticipation. Mummy, are we going to have a little sibling? Nolan and Lana asked curiously, turning off the television. Nicole chuckled and patted their heads. That's possible. Woohoo. That's awesome. Lana clapped with excitement. Would you prefer a little brother or sister? Gloria asked Lana playfully. After pondering for a moment, Lana answered, I'm fine with both. Doesn't matter if they are boys or girls. I like them both. Or they could be twins like me and Nolan. That way, I could have both. Ha ha ha. That'll be a little difficult. Everyone laughed. After a pleasant dinner, news from the hospital arrived, and Sally was indeed pregnant. Nolan and Lana were so excited that they wanted to rush over to the hospital. However, Gloria held them back and said, You can't see the baby now. We will have to wait for another 9 months before the baby is here. Why? The kids asked, their big round eyes fixed on Gloria. They are too small now, so they'll be living in Aunt Sally's belly for the time being. We'll have to wait until they grow a little bigger to be able to sleep on beds like you two, Nicole explained. Hearing this made the kids a little disappointed. But it will take forever. Don't think about it. You'll have to go to bed now. Nicole lightly patted her children's heads. All right then. Nolan and Lana obeyed and went to sleep, knowing that there would be no baby to see for a while. Watching as the kids made their way upstairs to their rooms, Nicole could not help but smile. Then she looked at Jared and said, "Let's go to bed too." "Sure thing," Jared agreed, and followed Nicole upstairs. Daniel and Gloria were the only ones in the living room thereafter. The two exchanged glances, and Gloria smiled. "It seems that more good news is around the corner. This is great. Yes. You need not worry. We'll have nothing but good things in the future." Daniel gently patted Gloria's shoulder in reassurance. By the time Nicole and Jared had gotten upstairs, the kids had already taken a shower and were ready to sleep. After tucking them to bed, Nicole and Jared got out of their children's rooms, exchanged smiles, and retired to their bedroom while holding hands. "Let's bring the kids back to Grandpa's tomorrow," Nicole said. "Sure," Jared answered. Jared's grandfather, Maximilian Johnston, loved the kids, and they were certain he would love to see them. "We'll pick them up after work," Nicole said. "We'll have to inform Tia tomorrow and tell her that she doesn't need to bring the kids home from school." As the hour was late, Jared looked at Nicole with a tender gaze and smoothened her hair. "We should go to sleep." "Okay," Nicole playfully chuckled and threw the covers over herself. The next morning, dewdrops fell from the leaves as dawn broke. As Nicole woke up and opened her eyes, she looked at the person sleeping beside her and smiled. Staring at Jared's face, Nicole hesitantly leaned in to give a peck on his cheek. She then chuckled quietly and started to get out of bed. Unexpectedly, an arm caught her by the waist as she got up. With a gentle pull, Jared held Nicole back in his arms. Before Nicole could react, Jared had flipped her over and pinned her down. With a meaningful gaze, Jared said, "Aren't you going to do something about it after waking it up?" "What thing?" "I'm getting out of bed." Nicole's face was flushed as she tried to push Jared away. "Well, I'll show you." Jared lowered his head and started kissing Nicole. The couple only went downstairs during breakfast. Deep down, Nicole blamed Jared for her sore back, but outwardly she had to pretend she was fine. At the dining table, the food was already prepared, and everyone had been seated. When everyone had arrived, Daniel gestured to the meal. "Let's eat." After breakfast, Tia came over to take the kids to their kindergarten. "Tia, we're going to pick the kids up later at Mr. Johnston Sr.'s," Nicole informed. "Oh, all right. Noted," Tia replied. "Auntie Tia, we should get going now," Nolan said, holding Lana's hand. "Sure thing. Come on." Tia smiled and took the kids with her. Stanley gazed at that retreating figure with a dark expression before moving his gaze away. Nicole coincidentally noticed this and did not know what motive Stanley had to behave like this. "Let's go," Jared said, holding Nicole's hand and pulling her back to reality. Nicole nodded slightly and followed him. "Dad, Mom, I'm going to work," Stanley informed and started to leave as well. "Hey, don't forget about the date tonight with..." Before Gloria could finish, Stanley interrupted. "Mom, could you cancel it for me? I have a topic seminar today, and it might end late." "You should just skip that seminar since it always takes a while to finish," Gloria said. She figured it would not hurt to miss once in a while. Besides that, her son still had to eat even though he was in a meeting. "Mom, it's not convenient for me," Stanley said, quickly escaping to prevent his mother from trying to convince him otherwise. Watching Stanley escape from the conversation, Gloria sighed. Why this child? Gloria did not expect that the one she was most assured of was now the one she worried about the most. "Forget it. Let the kid work. There'll be a time when he's free," Daniel advised after sensing his wife's anxiety. "Those are excuses. He'll forever remain busy," Gloria said, frustrated. "You should ask him first next time and schedule according to his timetable. That way, he could have no excuses," Daniel suggested. Gloria sighed. "There's probably no other choice. It's the only way." At Riddle Corporation, Jared left after watching Nicole enter the building. Nicole saw Steve on her way out of the elevator and she frowned. "Why are you here?" "I'm here for work," Steve replied, dumbfounded at the question. "Shouldn't you be taking care of your pregnant wife?" Nicole complained. Steve smiled smallly. "Oh, I've hired a nanny to take care of her." Knowing Nicole was worried about Sally, he continued, "Don't worry, everything was normal in yesterday's checkup. The doctor only informed me of some pregnancy precautions. Her body is fine." Knowing someone was taking care of Sally, Nicole nodded her head in satisfaction. "Thank God." "Oh, there's news about that matter," Steve said with amusement. Nicole raised an eyebrow. "The matter about the Ellison family's factory?" "Yup, everything's on the right track," Steve said proudly. "Harvey must be furious right now," Nicole thought. "That's great." Nicole smirked. She thought to herself, "I'm shocked that this thing has results already. Harvey must be really arrogant to think no one is able to deal with him. Well, it's my job to show him that he's not untouchable. It's just that no one wanted to deal with him." When Nicole entered her office, Patricia soon came in as well. "There's been a breakthrough in Nando Corp's matter. I believe we'll soon achieve completion," Patricia reported. "Okay, that's good." Nicole smirked again. There had been good news all along the week. Meanwhile, the atmosphere in Harvey's office was tense. Cautiously, his assistant said, "We didn't expect Nicole to do it the other way around." Nando Corp was clearly in trouble, but Nicole ignored it and went against Ellison Group. Her actions were so quick that they could not react and defend themselves in time. The electronic component factory could not take it anymore. "You're all just airheads," Harvey spat coldly. His assistant flinched. "Yes, we are." "Scram!" Harvey roared in anger. "Yes," his assistant answered, leaving the room. Harvey's expression was dark. He gritted his teeth and grumbled. "What a bunch of useless people. They put me in such a passive situation when things were originally in my favor. You've played your cards well, Nicole." The sun set, leaving behind the afterglow. After Nicole got off work, she and Jared went to pick their children up. "Mummy." Nolan and Lana ran out and rushed toward Nicole. "Hi. Come on, let's go to Great-Grandpa's house," Nicole said, guiding the kids into the car. "Daddy." Lana excitedly jumped into Jared's embrace when she saw him. Nolan followed behind her and sat in his seat. He glanced at Jared and moved closer to Nicole. Looking at Nolan's awkward behavior, Nicole smiled discreetly. Jared looked at Nolan and shifted his gaze. He could feel that Nolan's feelings had changed after that day, so he decided to give Nolan more time to adjust. The car started, and they soon arrived at the Johnston family manor. Maximilian knew they were coming, so he had been waiting for their arrival. As the family walked in, he smiled affectionately and said, "Welcome back. Come here and let the old man take a good look at you. Great-Grandpa." Nolan and Lana called out sweetly, "Come on, come over here." Maximilian laughed. Sitting on the couch beside them, Jared looked at Maximilian. "Grandfather, we'll be preparing Nolan and Lana's return banquet 3 days later. We really hope you could represent the Johnston family and host the banquet." "Humph, so you were going to tell me after all," Maximilian complained, pretending to be haughty. However, deep down he was pleased with Jared's request. Jared raised his eyebrows slightly and teased, "If you're not keen on it, I could always ask Mr. Riddle Sr. to." "What nonsense is that? These are the children of the Johnston family. Why should you let that old man host the banquet?" Maximilian protested in anger, instantly showing his dissatisfaction. "I'll consider this as your agreement to host the banquet then," Jared stated calmly, laughing secretly in his heart. Maximilian knew he was set up by Jared and grunted, "Of course." Nicole could not help but laugh at Maximilian's childish behavior. "Grandpa, they'll be called Nolan and Lana Johnston from then on." "Yes, I'll announce to everyone that they're Nolan Johnston and Lana Johnston. Both are my precious babies." Let's see who dares mess with them in the future, Maximilian said proudly. After discussing the return banquet, the family had dinner with Maximilian. The once desolate Johnston family manor was now livelier and cozier with the family's presence. Time soon arrived for the return banquet. Although they had limited time to prepare, with the Riddle family's hard work, everything was thoroughly prepared. An endless stream of people entered the hotel to attend the event. With brilliant lights and shadows flickering, people greeted each other warmly and clinked their glasses. The members of the Riddle family welcomed the guests who in turn congratulated them. The atmosphere was lively and festive. "There's the pair of angels," someone shouted, directing everyone's gaze toward the entrance. Jared was carrying Lana while Nicole walked beside him, holding Nolan's hand in her right hand. The family of four slowly approached, putting people in awe of their beauty. "When I saw those two children the other day, I simply thought they resembled Mr. Johnston." "Why, you don't say. They really look more and more alike." Hearing everyone's comments, Jared and Nicole remained calm and brought the kids to the front of the room, where Maximilian was waiting for them. "All right now. The protagonists of tonight's banquet have all arrived. Let the return banquet officially begin," the host announced. He then raised his voice to say, "Firstly, let's welcome Mr. Johnston Sr. to introduce the young master and young miss." Maximilian took the microphone and said with full vitality, "Let me introduce to everyone Nolan Johnston, my great-grandson, and Lana Johnston, my great-granddaughter." Congratulations echoed through the crowd, filling the room with thunderous applause. "Thank you all," Maximilian said, chuckling. "Besides that, Nolan Johnson is the future heir of the Johnston family. Looks like Mr. Johnston Sr. really loves this great-grandson." Everyone was surprised but also found it reasonable and started smiling. Maximilian proudly explained, "Of course, love him very much. Our Nolan will be excellent in the future. He'll be the most talented person in San Giotto. Mr. Johnston was a prodigy. Naturally, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree." "You're right. You can tell the young master is extraordinary at first glance." Everyone praised and could not help but marvel at how remarkable the Johnston family was. Nolan, despite his young age, exuded such a calm and composed aura, even with the spotlight on him on such an occasion. The adorable Lana, who was being carried by Jared, looked more approachable, but she was still not like an ordinary child. "Hold on a second," an abrupt voice rang out. Maximilian frowned, looking in the direction of the voice. "What are you up to, Benjamin Riddle? Are you trying to steal my thunder?" "I have something to say." Mr. Riddle Sr. came over and took the microphone roughly. "Although Nolan and Lana are children of the Johnston family, they are also the Riddle family's children. Therefore..." After a pause, Mr. Riddle Sr. continued, "Anyone who crosses my great-grandson or great-granddaughter in the future will have to deal with the Riddle family." "You're too serious, Mr. Riddle Sr. Why would we bother a small child?" Everyone chimed in jokingly. "Well, you won't. Go back and tell your kids to act accordingly and not to bully our Nolan or hit on Lana," Mr. Riddle Sr. informed them seriously. Maximilian was immediately united with Mr. Riddle Sr. at the idea and echoed, "Yes, no hitting on our Lana." Nicole could not help but feel bewildered at their instant unity, as they had just been secretly competing with each other. "Grandpa, that's a little too far ahead," Nicole whispered. After all, Lana was just 5 years old. She was still at an age where she liked having fun. Nicole thought these two old men were thinking too far ahead. "Why not? I had to protect Lana," Mr. Riddle Sr. rebuked. Maximilian lowered his voice and said, "Although Lana is young now, she's pretty. Just in case she gets targeted by any of the boys, we have to be on guard." They were just giving these people a heads up not to think about hitting on their precious child. "So you want Lana to just stay home?" Nicole asked. Mr. Riddle Sr. and Maximilian choked, their expressions a little torn. "Well, it has to be someone we're satisfied with," they huffed. The two old gentlemen reluctantly agreed and added, "But not now, we have to wait until Lana grows up." Laughing, Nicole reminded them, "Grandpa, we're here today to announce their identities, not set up blind dates for them." The men said awkwardly, "We were just giving them a reminder." "All right then, you did what you wanted. So should we move on to the next session?" Nicole prompted helplessly. Rather than Nolan and Lana, she felt that the grandfathers were the kids here. Mr. Riddle Sr. looked at Maximilian and returned the microphone to him. "I'm done. You may continue." Maximilian took the microphone and said with dissatisfaction, "You were the one who delayed in the first place." Nicole shook her head, thinking about how their unity fell apart so quickly. "Nolan, Lana, you're part of the Johnston family from now on. So, can you call him father now?" said Maximilian. He shifted his gaze to Jared. "I've always called him daddy," said Lana, wrapping her arms around Jared. From the very beginning, when Lana came back and found out that Jared was her biological father, she had loved Jared ever since. In her heart, Jared was her only father. Everyone redirected their gaze to Nolan, and he felt the pressure instantly. Before, Jared saved him and was injured because of him. It was the first time Nolan felt protected by his father. Naturally, he was willing to accept Jared. However, he still seemed to be unable to openly call Jared his dad. "Come on, Nolan," Lana urged her brother, noticing his silence. The others did not push Nolan, but their expressions were filled with anticipation. Everyone hoped Nolan could call Jared his father and truly accept him. "Grandpa, let's talk about something else," said Jared, shifting the conversation. He knew Nolan still needed some time and did not want to pressure him. Maximilian could only agree. "All right then." Since Nolan was still not used to it, Jared did not want to force him and figured that all the child needed was some time. When everyone was about to give up waiting, Nolan softly called out, "Dad!" The room instantly became quiet. Everyone was shocked. Jared's gaze showed a touch of satisfaction. He ruffled Nolan's head. "Good job." Nicole was also very pleased with Nolan and patted his shoulder. She knew her son was slowly accepting Jared. Clap, clap, clap. A slow clap started, standing out in the quiet crowd. As the clapping sound became apparent, everyone looked up to find Lawrence approaching. Nolan and Lana exchanged glances and called out, "Hi, Godpa." Nolan did not pounce on Lawrence as usual, which had Lawrence taken aback. But he quickly regained his composure and smiled. "You came." "Of course, I'd definitely come to visit you on such an important occasion." "Thank you, Godpa." Lawrence arrived in front of the children and held out 2 boxes to them. "This is a little something that I prepared for you." "Thank you," Nolan and Lana said, taking the gifts in a disciplined manner. "You're welcome. I'm your godfather, after all. You guys have loved clinging to me since you were little." Lawrence smiled and looked at Nolan. "Especially Nolan. I remember you saying you wanted to be like a hero like me when you grow up." Nolan remembered his words and added, "Yes, I want to get strong to protect my mother." Nolan's confident look while nodding his head had everyone touched by his behavior. Only Lawrence, Nicole and Jared had different emotions about this. They knew Lawrence said this purposefully, but thankfully, Nolan's explanation had perfectly made things not so awkward. At that time, no one was protecting Mommy. But now that we have Daddy, he'll protect Mummy from now on. "Nolan, you don't have to rush now. Just be a kid like me." "How great is that?" Lana said innocently. Nolan looked at Lana and agreed. "You're right. You're both grown up and no longer immature. I'm so glad for you and I hope you'll always be healthy, happy, and safe in the future," Lawrence said, chuckling. He then looked at Jared and added, "Congratulations." "Thank you, Godpa. We'll live happily with Mommy and Daddy." Lana smiled sweetly and tightened her arms around Jared's neck affectionately. "Since you're here for dinner, please have a seat," Maximilian said calmly, with a hint of coldness. Everyone present today was no ordinary person. They were all either in the political or business industry. After being in this environment for so long, no one was simple-minded. Maximilian could tell Lawrence's motives. And so could others. Lawrence seemingly came to congratulate, but he was actually after Nicole and wanted to be the father of the kids. Maximilian would never let that dream happen. Letting Lawrence be the kids' godfather was as much as he could tolerate. Anything further would be crossing the line. Thank you, Mr. Johnston Sr. Lawrence knew where he needed to be careful with what he did. Any more outrageous words from him would only backfire on him.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.